If your team isn't looking particularly strong for game week 4 and you're thinking about hitting that free hit button, then this is the ultimate video for you. I thought we'd start off today's video taking a look at why you might potentially want to look at hitting that free hit button. Personally for me, I would be saving it for blanks and potential double game weeks a little bit later on in the season, but I definitely think there is an argument to be played that this week could be an optimal week to hit that free hit button and kind of play that strategy out. As you can see, there are quite a kind of mixed bag of fixtures this game week. You've got some teams who have amazing fixtures where you expect them to kind of perform, a lot of kind of the top sides as well. And then you have some that are just a little bit more difficult, and a lot of assets are like we own within those teams as well. So it definitely makes sense in certain situations that I think we should be targeting certain fixtures and kind of looking to kind of remove in this one kind of week free hit potential teams. I'm thinking kind of a situation where maybe you've got 4 or even 5 players potentially in this game. If you've got Saka, Martinelli, you know, maybe Nketiah, you've got Rashford, you've got Bruno Fernandes, that's already 4 to 5 players in that one. Maybe for this one you've got Mo Salah, maybe even Trent as well. You also potentially could have Diaby or Watkins. So if you're thinking around that point already, you've potentially got 6 players in kind of difficult fixtures that you're potentially not wanting to look to play them in. Same with Brighton as well. You know, we've got players like Estupinian, you've also got João Pedro, Matoma, these highly owned players. Newcastle at home is not an easy fixture. We saw kind of Brighton's vulnerability on the counter-attack. Newcastle will definitely be analysing that performance from West Ham this weekend and kind of looking to exploit those same areas. And Newcastle as well, putting a very strong performance for about 70 minutes against Liverpool as well. So you imagine kind of there's going to be a response and a rebound in that performance. So again, already there, we're probably talking 7, 8, maybe even 9 players that you've already kind of got within your teams having difficult fixtures. So this is kind of where the argument comes in. The free hit does make sense. We want to be taking advantage of the fixture on Friday night. Luton looked absolutely abysmal. I've looked kind of poor in both games, conceding a lot of XG as well. West Ham as well were very bright. Players like Jared Bowen, James Ward-Prowse are people we want to be taking advantage of. Obviously other fixtures as well, Burnley, Spurs. I know a lot of us are looking to get James Maddison in this week, but maybe Udogie as well, maybe Son, Kulusevski. Chelsea as well, we potentially want to be having that triple up, and with Manchester City as well taking on Fulham. Fulham have conceded the highest XG conceded. I know, you know, kind of looking from a score performance that Manchester City didn't absolutely dominate Sheffield United, but if you look at the underlying data, they absolutely ripped them apart. It could have been a hatful, you know, if it wasn't for Erling Haaland missing that penalty, missing a few opportunities as well, and other players. It could have very well easily been a cricket score, to be honest, and the same situation could happen this week with Fulham. So I definitely think there is an option to potentially go for a free hit this week. Like I said, if you've got quite a lot of players playing in these bad fixtures and you want to reverse that round and get some good players, I definitely think it could be an optimal week to play that free hit chip. So let's go and take a look at the team that I've built for this game week. And starting the game week 4 free hit draft, I have gone for Ederson in goal. I think he has like the highest probability of getting a clean sheet this week. Manchester City at home versus Fulham. You're hoping that he can pick up that clean sheet. The other fixtures as well aren't looking too great. Maybe Flecken, but you know, we've got the money in the bank with this team to go out and buy a top quality goalkeeper. With there kind of being a lot of rotation within that City backline as well, I wanted a City defender to kind of build on potential clean sheets, but with there kind of been a lot of rotation, Ake, Akanji, you know, all these players dropping in and out, John Stones, Diaz, all these players coming in and out of the side. I just went with Ederson as he's just a safe pick. You know, he's not going to pick up potentially bonus points or, you know, save points, but is going to get that clean sheet, and that is what we want to be doing, maximising our points potential. So I definitely think he's just a safe pick to go for, and you know, there's no real risk of potential rotation. I've said it now, Pep's watching this video and he is going to absolutely ruin me, to be honest. Moving into the back line, we're going to start off with Rico Henry. Bournemouth at home is a great fixture for Brentford, who have started the season incredibly well, to be honest, ladies and gentlemen. Rico Henry has kind of been one of those star performers as well. I do have him in my own personal team. I'm going to be playing him this week. The only problem I do have with potentially going for Rico Henry and maybe looking to switch it around and go Flecken and a City defender is when Brentford do have kind of better fixtures. They play a back 4 rather than a back 5, and you do see kind of a limited kind of output from Rico Henry, but I think he's been excellent over the opening couple game weeks of the season, so I have gone for Rico Henry. Moving on to our next defender, it is a Doji, again another man I have in my own team. Obviously for this one, just make sure that he is 100% fit. Obviously there was kind of some issues with him during the Bournemouth game, so just make sure that he is fit. Burnley away is a great fixture. They have looked incredibly poor, conceding a lot of XG conceded over their kind of opening 2 fixtures that they have faced so far. Yes, I know one was Manchester City, but Villa ripped him apart. Spurs are starting to tick along very nicely as well, and as I highlighted in the FPL experts video, if you didn't watch that yesterday, I highlighted a Doji's heat map, and it was just brilliant, ladies and gentlemen. The positions that he's getting in, picking up good underlying data as well. So just make sure that he's 100% fit, and he should be a really good defender for your game week 4 wild card. Not wild card, it's a free hit. Come on, get with the program. Moving on to our final defender, it is Ben Chilwell. I feel like he is the best defender that you can have for game week 4. Nottingham Forest at home, not away. Nottingham Forest at home is the best fixture for me, kind of from a kind of points perspective. You know, Forest haven't looked too bad over the opening couple game weeks, but you know, this Chelsea side is starting to grow in confidence. I do prefer Ben Chilwell over Gusto as well. I know Gusto got that haul, but if you look at the underlying data, Ben Chilwell actually outperformed him in terms of expected goals involved. So I definitely think Chilwell is the defender that I want to have, basically playing as a left winger as well. So you can't really argue too much with that. Putting in some good performances. Hopefully you can continue that into game week 4. Moving into our midfield, starting off again, it's going to be another Chelsea boy, and it is Raheem Sterling. Obviously, off the back of that very impressive performance against Luton, where he got 2 goals and a fortunate assist, obviously taking a little bit of a deflection. He has kind of been a very popular asset to potentially buy this week. I've had a few FPL kind of suggestions, people asking about him on Twitter as well. I think he's a good player, but I think if you look at kind of the data that he picked up, a lot of his kind of opening kind of game week 3 to 1 kind of data range, all of the key metrics have mainly been picked up against Luton, not in the other fixtures. So it is going to be an interesting one to see how he kind of performs against a little bit better of a side. I think Nottingham Forest have started the season incredibly well from a kind of performance perspective. Yes, they haven't got the results so far, but took Arsenal nearly all the way, and also Manchester United as well. So definitely a team that could start doing well when their fixtures do turn. I don't think they're a bad side, so I do think Chelsea are going to struggle a little bit, but if we are looking kind of on the back of that really positive Chelsea performance, I think they're going to absolutely smash it. Raheem Sterling again is probably going to be involved in the goals. Moving on to the main asset for me that I would potentially be looking to free hit and get in for game week 4, it is Jarrod Bowen. We spoke about it in the last segment. Kind of that is the key fixture that I would be looking to target for game week 4. Absolutely ripped it apart against Brighton, was fantastic, and we all know Jarrod Bowen has that in his locker, that capability just to produce some absolute magic as well. I also saw a stat, I think it was from the left or the right hand side, the last few players who've played against Luton, obviously they're 2 games. Raheem Sterling, it must be the right, Raheem Sterling and Solly March have both come away with absolute haul points after playing Luton. Jarrod Bowen also plays in that position, so you'd hope for similar outcomes as well. It seems to be a weakness where teams can potentially get into that back line and exploit Luton. So hopefully Jarrod Bowen, building on that really good performance against Brighton, can muster up a very similar performance and a very similar point scoring as well. Potential maybe to go as a differential captain with this draft, but I think there's going to be a man that would definitely want to kind of have, but just one that potentially you could throw out there. Moving on to our third midfielder, it is Mbeumo. I've gone with him, like I said, very similar with Rico Henry. Bournemouth at home is an amazing fixture that we want to be targeting. Bryan Mbeumo as well has started the season incredibly well. Obviously, it was a blank last week, but still picked up good underlying data from that game. He's on penalties as well. This kind of Brentford attack as well are really purring into gear as well, starting to look really crisp and clean, and Mbeumo is definitely a part of that. Moving on to our final midfielder, and it is James Maddison, a player who massively impressed in game week 3 with his performance against Bournemouth as well. He seems to be the key component to that Spurs attack. I'm not 100% convinced by Sterling or Kulusevski. I think if I was to go for a Spurs midfielder or like a Spurs player this game week in general, not just on my free hit, James Maddison would be my top priority. If you look at kind of his underlying data, like per 90, I think he's averaging like 0.5 for a goal, 0.5 for an assist. So every kind of other game, you're expecting kind of points returns. Like I said as well with Udogie, Burnley haven't impressed me personally over their opening 2 fixtures, on set pieces, on corners as well. He makes a really valuable asset to have in game week 4, and if you're potentially looking for a transfer and beyond as well, with good fixtures in 5 as well. Not in 6 and 7, but then again, they pick up after that. Moving on to our front line, we're going to start off with, of course, Erling Haaland. He will be the captain if I was going to play my game week 4 free hit. He would be the captain for this side. Fulham at home, like I said, they have conceded the most XG conceded, have looked woeful at the back at times as well. Haaland, you know, obviously he came away from that game against Sheffield United only scoring 1 goal, but could have easily had a hat-trick on another day. There is also question marks whether or not you potentially play the triple captainship with him this week. There is that argument as well, because the data that he picked up in that Sheffield United game, Fulham being such a leaky defence as well, you do expect him to be involved in the goals. City as well, if they can get Foden on the pitch, if he starts, I think they're going to be fantastic. That is the only reason he's not included, is I just don't think I want to play Pep Roulette 100% with my kind of free hit. So we've gone with Haaland up front. Moving on to our next forward, it is Nicholas Jackson, arguably the second best forward option for this game week that you potentially got. Personally for me, on Friday night, he didn't impress in terms of the eye test, but if you look at his underlying data, I think it's like 2.7 expected goals over the opening 3 game weeks. You expect him to score against Forest, you expect him to play as well a large majority of the game. There doesn't seem to be too much competition in terms of places, and there is that slight possibility that he might be on penalties with Enzo, potentially, you know, the way he missed the last one. There is that potential that Jackson potentially takes it from now on, but we're going to have to kind of wait and see on that. But I do think he is the best forward option that you can have in your side for game week 1. And moving on to our final player, it is Julian Alvarez, kind of playing in this dual 10 role with Phil Foden when he is on the pitch as well. Has been super impressive, was very unlucky not to come away with an assist from Haaland's penalty in game week 3, sorry. Like I said with Haaland, we want to be targeting this fixture. Fulham are very leaky, highest XG conceded. You know, there's kind of injury issues and potential kind of, you know, other issues around that squad that are going to cause a lot of problems at the back. And I definitely think City could massively exploit them. You know, it was Sheffield United were lucky to come away with that result that they did in the end. Fulham might not be so, to be honest. They could easily get hammered, and these boys could definitely be involved. That was the game week 4 kind of free hit wild card. It's not a wild card, it's a free hit draft. Come on, it's the second time I've done that now. Let's have a quick run through of the bench. I've gone for Johnson on there. Wolves at home is a really good fixture for Crystal Palace. He potentially could be another one, or Flecken as well if you didn't want to go for Henry. Ethan Pinnock, very kind of similar situation, picking up good underlying data as well. Brentford are a team that massively targets set pieces, and he is kind of one of their key components of that, and one of the key targets from those set pieces as well. So definitely a player if you don't fancy Rico Henry, because they're playing a 4 at the back when they play against better teams. Pinnock maybe could be your man. In terms of midfield, I think Eze is a really good shout as well. Obviously hasn't kind of scored many FPL points. He hasn't got a return yet so far in FPL, but he's on penalties. His underlying data is fantastic. The most shots, the most attempted assists as well over the opening 3 game weeks. Has to consider himself super unlucky as well. So I think if you've got Eze in your team as well, I would be looking to hold him for this fixture. You know, Wolves haven't been putting in impressive performances, so I definitely think they could be a team that could be kind of turned over by Crystal Palace this game week as well. So I think if you've got Eze, he's worth it. Maybe not in this starting 11 though. I think this midfield is just a little bit better than him. And then Kabore on the bench just to finish it up. I think you could go for any other defender in here, to be honest. There was just a little bit of like, I don't know, like I just didn't know what other one to put in there. So we went Kabore. Third sub. He's probably not going to come on unless some like massacre happens within this side. That was the game week 4 free hit draft. Let me know what you think of it down in the comment section below. If you've activated the chip, let me know down in the comments as well, and I'll try and help you build the best kind of free hit for you and your budget and get you the best points for this game week. If you do enjoy the content as well, be sure to like and subscribe as we're trying to hit 2,000 subs. But thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and enjoy the rest of your day.